Well, 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 look at that. I did not think I was gonna be fishing open water this early in New Hampshire. I mean, it's the beginning of March and all the lakes, all the ponds are still completely frozen with a foot of ice. But fortunately, where I live in New Hampshire, it's been 50 degrees out the past 2 days, and this was completely frozen over. It wasn't thick enough to stand on or anything. There was just a few inches of ice, but just after 2 50-degree days, it's all open. So I have to take full advantage of this nice day, this open water, and test my luck out here. And to be honest with you guys, I was headed to another place this morning. I wanted to do some ice fishing this pond, but I figured, what the heck, why not just look at the river? Maybe it's open, maybe it's not, but let's just look at it. And when I came in here, what a nice surprise. It's literally all open. I mean, there's a little bit of ice across the way there, but I mean, that's only on the edges. Like, as you guys can see here, there's still a little bit of ice, but like I said, that's just on the edges. And to be honest with you guys, I don't think I'm gonna catch a smallmouth today. Like I just said, I'm gonna be fishing this river for some smallmouth. I'm gonna be using some small finesse baits. I got a small drop shot, got an Okashira jig head with me, I got a blade bait, a crankbait. So I'm gonna be using some cold water tactics today to hopefully catch some fish, but if I don't, that's perfectly all right too. This is basically just to knock off the rust. One thing I noticed already is my boat's already leaking. But not too bad, it's manageable. If need be, I can just pull off to the side of the river and dump it. I'm excited. It's pretty cold out, pretty windy, but yeah, that doesn't matter to me. I want to at least get fishing a little bit today. Now, I'm going to be starting off today with the Okashira screw head with just a 3.3 inch, I believe, or maybe 3.8 inch power swimmer on it, I want to say. Yeah, the 3.3 inch power swimmer, an electric blue chartreuse. And this is just what I'm going to be starting off today. If I switch lures, I'll let you guys know. But let's hit the water. I think it's going to be a little bit sketchy getting my sea legs all settled in and avoiding all the rocks and avoiding all the ice floating down. That big floating iceberg I have to avoid. I'm going to have to avoid those probably all day today. Thing's giant. And the one annoying thing too about fishing this section of the Merrimack River is you just can't pick a lane and go for it and avoid all the rocks. You really have to zigzag back and forth to avoid all the rocks and find all the deep spots. Alright, so I've made it to where I want to start fishing. But definitely one of my sketchiest entries fishing. I mean, just with all the rocks and icebergs, I definitely don't want to flip. Who's calling me at a time like this? I have an 1/8 of an ounce jig head here, and the line I'm using is probably a bit thicker than what you should normally use. I'm using 20-pound fluorocarbon, and that's only because I know there is some big fish here, and since there's a lot of snags and boulders, I really don't want to get snapped off on a big fish. So my line isn't necessarily for the fish, it's just for the rocks and all the snags that are around here. So not much luck on the river, but honestly that's to be expected because there's still over 12 inches of ice on the ponds in my area. But not only that, a couple days later I went up north about an hour and a half and fished a frozen river with 12 inches of ice. Yeah, I've never fished a frozen river before, and it had 12 inches of ice. But fortunately, in my area of New Hampshire, it is going to be about 60 degrees out the next couple days. So hopefully that opens up some of the smaller ponds, because I am so ready to do some open water fishing. And since I didn't do that well on the water, I'm back at my apartment doing an unboxing. And today's unboxing came all the way from Arizona, from the Hookup Tackle. I picked up just a couple spring lures. Honestly, I went there for one reason, but it's like eating a potato chip. You just can't have one, so I bought more than just one lure. I ended up buying a few things for the springtime. Let's just get into it. It's not the biggest box in the world, just a couple things in here. And let's just start out with the reason why I went to the store to begin with. This is the new Limited Dish Pop X from Megabass. There's a good angle of it. The color of this lure is SG Kasumi Reaction, I believe. Yes, SG Kasumi Reaction. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to be taking it out of the box. These lures I collect. I actually have last month's limited edition lure. I'll actually grab that for you guys right now. This was last month's limited edition color. Also in the Pop X. And one thing cool about the Kasumi Reaction color is they stopped making this color for the baits all the way back in 2001. So it's been 20 years since they released this color. And that's honestly why I just don't want to take it out of the box or anything. I'm a big fan of collecting lures. I actually have bags and bags of lures that I just really don't even need, honestly. But I thought this color was pretty cool. It has that blue and kind of purple head with that greenish blue tiger stripes on it, and then almost like a peach belly. That's the only reason why I decided to go to the Hookup Tackle. But when I was on their website, I did decide to pick up a couple more things. The next things I picked up are some Megabass rock hogs in like clear red and solid red. I really didn't know which red color to go with, just because I knew I needed red or wanted red. But I really didn't know if the clear red was what I wanted, or this solid matte red would look good on the back of the fire craw chatterbait I bought. Right here, actually. Right now I just have a little Kitech on it from the last unboxing video I showed you guys. But let's just take this off and put a rock hog on. Oof. Instantly, I don't even need to smell it, but ooh, super squiddy smell. A really strong scent, but this is the clear red color here. Just a clear red plastic with very fine red and black flake in it. And I thought this would look perfect on the back of the fire craw chatterbait. And I'm not even gonna bite off an inch or two. I'm just gonna thread the entire bait on. There we go. Kind of rigged it a little crooked, but you guys get the picture. I definitely wanted a nice solid red trailer for this red chatterbait. And as I keep hearing from everybody, red works perfect in the springtime. So hopefully it'll work pretty good for me. But that's honestly the only reason why I bought these rock hogs. But honestly, that's the only reason why I bought these rock hogs, were for literally just a chatterbait. I might end up throwing them on the back of a jig or something like that, but it was mostly just for these chatterbaits in the springtime. Actually, all the baits I bought from the Hookup Tackle, you can use in the springtime and catch fish no problem. And that was the new bait from Megabass, new soft plastic, rock hogs, 3 inches. Moving right along, and another Megabass product actually. Yeah, everything I bought at the Hookup Tackle is from Megabass. Megabass is kind of by far my favorite company. And I picked up a S-crank in 1.5 size. And this is the secret gill color. And These just look so goofy, I love it. Their eyes are so close together. Let me just take it out of the package. Now, I said this is an S-Crank 1.5, and 1.5 is the depth that it dives, 1.5 meters, which is very roughly 4 or 5 feet. It's about 60 millimeters long, or 6 centimeters long, and half an ounce. So you can easily get away with throwing this on literally any baitcaster. If you had a $20 Shakespeare, you could throw this. It's plenty heavy enough. And in a super cool color too. And that head. I think that head is just so funny looking. And look at the package. You gotta love that they have the American flag. So sticking with a square bill crankbait, I picked up another square bill. But this is the S-Crank 2.0. So again, it's gonna dive 2 meters, which is about 6-7 feet. Actually, technically, I believe that's exactly 6.5 feet. So depending on what line you use, what pound test, it might dive 8 feet, might dive 5 feet, but just right in that 6.5, 7 foot range. This color is Biwako Chartreuse. I'm assuming the whole Biwako is a reference to Lake Biwa over in Japan. Maybe. I don't really know what I'm talking about. But the cool thing about the S-Crank that it kind of does better than a lot of the other square bills, if not all the other square bills, is this bait here has a very solid hunting action. And I know that's kind of cliche in the whole crankbait game is, oh, it has great hunting action, but until you really see this under the water, it really does. Because a lot of crankbaits, when you reel them back, they just come in straight right back at you. Or if they're not tuned, maybe they just come in at a slightly angled. These are tuned to go straight right out of the package here. And the difference between this crankbait and other crankbaits is, like I said, other crankbaits just that tight wobble. But this one here will have that tight wobble, but it'll kind of kick off to the side for a little bit and then right itself, and then kick off to the side again and then right itself. So when a bass is following that crankbait back here and it kind of kicks off to the side like that, that could trigger a strike. But to be honest with you guys, I'm not the best bass fisherman, so I might not know what I'm talking about. To me, that just makes sense. The reason I have no problem spending like $15, $16, $17 on a crankbait is just for like the features that these Megabass crankbaits have that others don't. That hunting action and just the colors. I really love Megabass colors. In my opinion, they have literally the best colors out of any fishing company out there. To me, it's not really even close. Lucky Craft does make some pretty cool colors that I like, but all the American companies don't even compete, in my opinion. Let me take it out of the package real quick. And not only does it have that great hunting action that I was talking about, some crankbaits, if you want to burn them, they kind of blow out to the side and they'll come back sideways. But with this crankbait here, it does not matter what retrieve you use. This will always stay true. It's not going to blow out if you go too fast and start coming in on the side like this. It's always going to hold true straight like this. And then sometimes it'll kick out, but then it'll right itself. And keep going, and it'll kick out, and then right itself again. But this 2.0 crankbait is a full 1 ounce. So not twice the size of the 1.5. Give you kind of a size comparison here. So definitely not twice the size as the 1.5, but it is going to be twice the weight. So you might even have to beef up your rod a little bit to a medium heavy using this crankbait. But with the stretch in the fluorocarbon, you're going to have no issues bending out these hooks. Especially the ones that come stock. Now moving on to the last crankbait I bought at the Hookup Tackle. This is a small Megabass Vibration X Dyna. Long name. The color, I believe, is Passion Pink Tiger. Yeah. Passion Pink Tiger. This is silent, and I purposely got it in silent because I'm going to be going back to the river, and the water is still only going to be high 30s, 40s at the most. So I'm hoping with the silent bait and this bright color, I'll be able to attract the fish. And a silent bait, in my opinion, is just a more natural bait. A bait fish this size isn't going to be putting a ton of noise out underneath the water. So I think the silent version was going to work slightly better for me. And no, I'm not taking it out of the package yet, because then I have to ruin the package if I want to take it out. Moving on to the last, but definitely not the least. These are the Megabass Uzi swimmers. Oh, that's upside down. Man, this thing looks amazing with that realistic fish head, the underspin, the color of the jig skirt. There's no way this bait is not gonna catch fish. It was $12, I believe, $11 or $12. I can't really remember which. This is on kind of the more expensive side. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I can go to Walmart and spend like $4.50 on jigs. But in my unprofessional opinion, this jig here is gonna catch 3 to 4 times more fish than just that $4 jig you can buy at Walmart. Super stout hook here. And not the stoutest weed guard, but it'll do the job. To be honest with you, I really love a thick weed guard. Thicker the better, in my opinion, just because all you have to do is set the hook harder, and I set the hook when I'm jig fishing really hard anyway. So having that stiff weed guard is not gonna hinder my hookups, but it is gonna help me get less snagged. And this bait was 12 bucks, so I don't wanna get this bait snagged up. So I would like a little thicker weed guard, but to be honest with you, I have that complaint about 99% of the jigs I buy. Actually, more like probably 100. Never can have too thick of a weed guard. And as you guys can tell, came with this little blade here, little underspin jig. And this is meant to be a swim jig, but I mean, you don't have to use it for a swim jig. You can use it for literally anything you want. Maybe not a flipping jig, just because you don't want this blade to get caught up in all the branches and weeds, but you can always just take some wire cutters and cut it off, and you still have a sweet jig with a sweet fish head. Like, look at that detail. Like, that's way better than any $4 jig you're gonna buy. Okay, so the color of this bait, I just looked it up on my computer, and the color is Gripan, G-R-I-P-A-N. And I tried looking it up. I couldn't figure out the definition of it, but basically it's just green pumpkin, a bluegill color. Imitates a bluegill, crappie, perch. Picked up 2 of these, both in 3/8 of an ounce. They both have a size 4 hook. This color is golden shiner. And in my area, there's no shad. And in my opinion, a bass is definitely gonna rather eat a shiner than a bluegill given the choice, just because a shiner doesn't have any fins or barbs or spines that can prick the fish. A shiner just goes down the hatch nice and smooth. So I had to pick up a gold shiner color. And that is it for today's unboxing. Unfortunately, I didn't catch any fish on the river, but opening these baits, it definitely makes me feel better. And all these baits I picked up, the Vibration X Dyna, the S-Crank, both the jigs, the rock craw, and the popper here, all great springtime baits. Luckily for me, in my area, it should be about 2 weeks when I can go open water fishing and all the ponds and lakes will be unfrozen. But until then, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more ice fishing, unfortunately. I'm so ready for open water, but like I said, there's still 12 inches of ice where I live, so I'm definitely gonna be putting out another ice fishing video, hopefully for some pike. I don't know yet, crossing my fingers. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Peace.